What is going on, fam? My artists out here. What is going on? What's good, y'all? When I do that, when I like fluctuate my voice like that, when I'm, kind of sort of singing like that, that's just me warming up. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just warming up, talking and warming up before I actually dive in. Now, clearly, this episode is an interview. So I am going to let my hands be released from the handles on the bicycle. Okay. I'm gonna let it go because you're going to tune in to an incredible edible interview with the one and only Jordan DeLoach. Now, hold on. What's that? I hear some of y'all saying, wait, Jordan DeLoach? Wait, I think I've heard of him before. I'm not quite sure. Well, regardless of if you're quite sure or not, tune in because this is a very memorable interview. We're talking more than just dropping a gem or two. We're talking diamonds. We're dropping diamonds on this one. So Jordan, of course, granted this is from my YouTube interview, and so you're going to hear a little bit more about him. So just relax, just calm down. But yeah, he is an engineer and he's a painter, and his journey, like a lot of artists, or his journey consists of ups, downs, challenges, trials, but his willingness to lean in to who he is at his core as a creative has gotten him, how can I say this, front of the line passes. You know what I'm saying? Like those, when you go to a theme park and you got two kinds of folk. You got the folk that has the VIP pass, and so they don't have to wait in line for an eternity. And then you have those that have to wait in line for an eternity, which I have experienced both. Okay. I have experienced both. But what I'm summarizing here is that when you actually take ownership of who you are at your core, right? At your core, of who you are at your core, this means owning who you are. This means really owning it, not on Tuesdays and Fridays, right? Not on Mondays and Wednesdays between the hours of 8 and noon. This is owning it 24/7, owning it, walking in it, stepping in it, breathing in it, living in it. You are a creative. When you own it like that, that's the VIP pass. That's the one that gets you to the front of the line. That's the one. That's it. So tune in. Such a wonderful and enlightening interview with Jordan DeLoach. Be sure that you click those links that are hanging out in the description for this episode. And if you will do yourself a bonus favor and go to YouTube and actually watch it and then see his work, check out his work on Instagram. The artwork hits different when you get to know the person. And that's something that I really have such a strong desire for for it to translate to you, is that it's not just about the art in itself, by itself, standing alone. The art wasn't created like voila, okay? It came from you, which is what makes it incredibly valuable. So make sure that you click those links in the description. Go check him out on YouTube and his Instagram. Show support, show that love, and let's keep this thing going. All right, y'all, go ahead and tune on in now. Sounds of your thoughts more than you need to, which
Yeah.
makes it so much bigger,
And,
than
and
it really needs to be.
and that's what art is, right? Art is freedom, right? So my thinking,
That's another gem. It's another gem.
right, like
It's
my approach to
freedom.
art, I'm
Oh, so
approaching art
good.
in a way that's kind of diametrically opposed to what art is. It's not whether you're good or bad. It's not whether you can or can't. It's actually the freedom to experience just the isness of life where you express whatever comes through you, whether
Brother,
other
the
people
brother
like
said isness. The brother said isness of life. Oh my gosh. I'm
it.
hollering. I'm hollering. Go ahead. Artists, creatives, and designers. I'm your host, Electra, and welcome to Dream Aloud Art, where we have educating, inspiring, and motivating conversations with creatives from around the world. Show some love and support by subscribing, liking this video, and uplift another creative by sharing this video. Let's tune in to another amazing conversation. Let's go. Artists, creatives, and designers, welcome to Dream Aloud Art on YouTube. And we have a very special guest. I'm so excited because I have been diving deep on his Instagram and getting to know so much about him. A very special artist by the name of Jordan DeLoach. Now, real quick, we're going to give just a quick rundown about Jordan. So Jordan was born in Detroit, Michigan. Have I been to Detroit? I have been. I've been to Detroit a couple of times. But anyway, now he currently resides in Atlanta, good old ATL. And it's been forever since I've been there too. But he works as an engineer. But of course, as you probably guess, he is very passionate about art and creativity because that is what has led him right here. And his painting style, this is so good, y'all. You just hear me or feel it, feel it right now. His painting style is abstract and geometric. And I have so many questions because I'm trying to figure out why is it when I've looked at his work, something is happening. I don't know what it is, but it's this kind of heightened excitement. And I don't know if that's what his intentions are, but it's all good. We're going to dive into that. So that's his painting style. His ultimate goal is to be an international traveling artist. And there is no doubt in my mind that if you, Jordan, if you like fully focus on that, making that happen, too easy. You're going to make it happen. No doubt. So welcome, the one and only Jordan DeLoach. What's going on? Talk to us.
Man, that was an amazing intro. I appreciate that.
Listen,
okay.
If I could give, what's that?
I was going to say, I see why your name is Electra, right? I just feel energized.
Yeah. You know what? If I could give an introduction to as many artists as possible, the individual artists, usually on my platforms, I'm giving love to artists, period, right? Mm-hmm. Man, ain't nothing like giving an introduction to an artist. Like it's an honor. So yeah, it's always an honor for me too, getting on the platform, having these conversations. So yeah, let's do it. Tell us how you kicked it off, or what the realization was that you had some kind of unique creative DNA flowing in you. Like, where did that come into fruition for you?
That's a really good question.
So good.
So ever since I was younger too, I've always been drawn to like animation, drawing, painting, and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I was always creative as a child. Like I would like just scrabble stuff or doodle stuff, right. Or maybe, create a little dance, like little kids always dance around, like create dances and stuff.
Yes.
I would always create different things. And so, although I didn't pursue art up until a couple of years ago, it was always something unique that I realized about myself in terms of me being able to kind of look at something and then kind of draw a very uncommon interpretation of it. And so, okay, if I can look at this and I can see it in such a way that, a lot of people don't really give the same perspective, I wonder what else I can apply this unique creativity or this perspective to in my life. And like I said, I always wanted to be an artist since I was younger. And it wasn't until 2020, honestly, that I really started to really apply that creativity that I noticed from when I was younger.
Ooh, till 2020?
2020.
Okay, now I want to say the reason why that really stood out to me and why I just wrote that down is because I on my IG Dream Aloud Art and Respect the Artist, but mainly on Dream Aloud Art because I'm a person, and so when I'm speaking on artists connect with me in a different way, and so my platform, it expands from teenagers, even kids that have DM'd me and saying, RT stands for Respect the Artist, like they're so charged up with this kind of energy, all the way to, I'm blessed to say all the way to some folks who were close to 70 years old saying, you know what, I didn't pick up the paintbrush for years. And then I've seen this platform now, it makes me want to, get back into it. But all of that being said, I've connected with artists who feel like they have to have some kind of extensive amount of time that they should have realized that they're a creative in this particular way. Like, say, we'll just say painting, for example. So they're not giving themselves grace to understand that if you don't have a history of art, or you didn't go to school for it, or it, that doesn't matter. I don't care if you were a doctor for 25 years. If you feel this in you, just go ahead and start, So I think that's really refreshing for you to give what feels very recent from all the kind of conversations that I've had with artists. It feels very recent that you gave yourself permission to explore in this way at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah, man. So when I was younger, I just always wanted to create. And so,
Mm.
but what stopped me, I feel like, or I would say maybe what delayed me from really pursuing it was really just me thinking that I couldn't do it, right? So I would
Mm,
draw, but
mm.
I didn't think that I was necessarily good at drawing, right? Um, I would see other people
Right.
painting, and then I would say, well, I can't do that, so let me not try that. It's almost similar to yoga. I don't know if you practice yoga, but when people look at
I
other,
like to pretend. I like to pretend I know how to do it by impressing myself with the kind of stretches I do
uh-huh. Yeah,
and calling it yoga. But I know there's a lot more to it. So you
yeah,
practice yoga.
yeah, time to time.
Oh,
And
that's so
so,
good.
what I realize in terms of a lot of people's approach to yoga who haven't gotten into it yet, they look at people who are a little bit more advanced and say, well, I can't stretch like that, so I can't do yoga. But it's like, well, they put time in, they've done a lot of things to get to that level.
Mm,
And yoga is not just crazy poses and crazy stretching,
right. It's
it's really
beyond
just
that.
it's an expression to a degree. So
Mm,
similar to
mm.
art, it took me, so I'm 33. It took me until I was 20, so that was almost 3 years ago, 30, really. I had like an
Mm,
epiphany.
mm.
The pandemic really did it for me because
Ooh,
it was
same
like a huge
here. Same here. Yes.
shift.
Yes.
It was a huge shift. But
Hmm.
for me, I just stopped everything and I started just looking at what I desire, what I truly desired in my life. And so again,
Right.
that feeling came up, and what I really desired was to create. And I kid you not, like one day I just went and bought some canvases and I went on YouTube and some painting stuff. And I went on YouTube and I just followed a video and I started painting. And I never stopped ever since that day.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. That is so good. I want to co-sign that about the pandemic, because that's where my platform and Respect the Artist just started going through the roof. Um, and I had more time to dedicate to the virtual space. So it was moving with ease. And I absolutely love that. I want to go back to what you had said about yoga and how I'm taking that same example and inserting it more into your point and more into the art world, because I feel like I love that how you said that it's an expression, right? And what came to me strong was the openness and the willingness. It's not about doing yoga or posing in some kind of perfect way.
Mhm.
It's also being open and willing to just give yourself permission to do it.
Yes, yes.
And we can say try is almost like a gray space play with words. No, if you're trying, you're doing. That's some kind of famous some character off Star Wars everyone knows. I can't remember. But anyway, but that character was absolutely right. Yes, there's no such thing as trying. You're either doing it or you're not. And so you can build that muscle of confidence by being open and willing to just do it. Just do it. Let the energy of giving yourself permission to do it transform into, like you, Jordan, going to the store and actually buying some canvases. That's
Yeah.
because you were open and willing. You're just open and willing. That's it. I love
Yeah.
that.
So like,
So
and
good.
too, that like that time frame was on an internal level so transformative for me because I feel like what led me to even
Mm.
pursuing that was a shift in how I thought. And or I could even say it's kind of the opposite, like a shift in thinking in general. So I realized that I didn't pursue this goal that I really wanted because of judgment. So I didn't think that I could do
Ah,
something.
mm.
I didn't think that I can do something, or I thought that I wasn't enough of this, or I couldn't draw enough, or I don't know how to paint. So I had all these judgments about why I couldn't do it. And at that point in my life, it just got to a point where I just stopped thinking so much. I stopped thinking
Mm,
or placing a judgment on that desire, and I just allowed that
uh,
desire to flow through. So I got the feeling to do it, and instead of thinking about why I shouldn't do what I have a deep desire to do, I just did it. And that same concept applied to so many things during that time. And so at the same time,
got me hollering. You got me hollering, Jordan. You got me hollering. I'm just saying.
yeah, that's what it
So
was
good.
that stopped me from doing it. It was just judgment. It wasn't the fact,
Mm,
I didn't, I wasn't handicapped in any way. I wasn't,
right.
nothing physically happened to me to the point where I couldn't do it. So it's like, well, this is mental. But why do I not pursue this and I want to do it? So man, that 2020 was transformative on a lot of different layers.
Mm. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm in class. I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes, Jordan. My gosh. Because the judgment, right? So to help solidify your point about that, about the judgment, like we just as human beings and what has happened to quite a few of us out here, and especially artists, we say we don't want to do something. For example, we may say we don't want to do something because of what someone else is going to say,
Hmm.
but the underlying truth, see, that's like the surface shallow, right? The underlying truth is that we're actually judging ourselves. We're the ones that's preventing it. You ever do something, like you ever just make a decision to do something that you were a little doubtful about, and then it turned out it wasn't that serious, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
so, so we'll do that kind of stuff. We'll play this what I call mental game, this little back and forth thing going on. Just follow through and do and
yeah,
actually carry out the action in itself. And what I wrote down here was the internal dialogue.
yeah,
You were talking about maybe thinking too much, or overthinking, or kind of stretching the bounds of your thoughts more than you need to, which
yeah.
makes it so much bigger,
And,
than it
and
than it really needs to be.
and that's what art is, right? Art is freedom, right? So my thinking,
That's another gem. It's another gem.
right? Like
It's
my approach to
freedom.
art, I'm
Oh, so
approaching art
good.
in a way that's kind of diametrically opposed to what art is. It's not whether you're good or bad. It's not whether you can or can't. It's actually the freedom to experience just the isness of life, where you express whatever comes through you, whether
Brother,
other
the
people
brother
like
said isness. The brother said isness of life. Oh my gosh. I'm
it.
hollering. I'm hollering. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just
So
it's
good.
freedom. It allows you to really express life how you see it, and
Mm,
that's not good or bad. That's not any of those words that we can use to label it. It just is,
mm.
and that's that sweet spot, that middle ground, is what I was in search of internally. And when I began to express that and kind of integrate that into my life, my actions started to really display that. So then I would go to the
Mm.
store and I would buy a canvas and paint, not because or because of the reason that I like to paint or I want to paint, or I want to create, not because
Yes,
I don't think that I can't,
I'm
you know.
telling you. What?
So
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I want to sip some water, but like I know that if I start sipping, especially when you're talking, if I start sipping and then you drop a gem, I might, like, tip my mug over. Like, I need to just calm down. Like, oh my gosh. Notice how I just hold the mug in front of me and I didn't even sip, because I'm so wired up. Oh, that's so good. You dropped so many gems. And I have a gem counter, which is which is me taking
Oh, that's
tally
dope.
of all the gems. All the gems. Like, it's so good. I receive the gems. Okay, so, and again, I'm usually the one that just has to catch myself. All right. I have to catch myself and remind myself that we're actually trying to accomplish a time frame on this, right?
Yeah.
Because I could be on here all day. I could
Yeah,
ask you
same. Once I get to
whatever.
talking, I like it. Like with the
Yes.
time, though.
Yes, I love it. We are going to continue and learn. We want to learn a little more about some of the trials and any challenges that you had. I know you mentioned the inner judgment, and we just had a moment where we were talking about that. Did you face any other challenges continuing? And I'm going to add on any challenges when it comes to sharing your work,
Mm,
or how any thoughts about how it would be received, or any moments of the overthinking when it came to that part, right? So we already talked about you giving yourself permission, but what were challenges, whether that includes what I'm talking about with sharing, or it's something else. But if you will, can you share some of those challenges and how you addressed it, or how you handled it, Jordan?
man, I would say really, man, that's a good question as well, because from the
Okay.
moment I really started creating and putting it out there, I it's almost like I completely eliminated that thought of whether people would like it or not.
That is
And I don't
so
know what
good.
I did. I don't know
If,
what.
well, I want to say this too, because granted, like I kind of caught that when you said that's a good question, because when you said that's a good question, I was thinking, oh, is he saying that because he didn't really feel like he had experienced that? You know what I'm saying? And this is, and that's completely okay. There is, trust me, there's an artist that's watching this, listening to it, or because maybe they're listening on my podcast, whatever the case is, where that's okay. Like, if you didn't feel like you had some kind of challenge, that's like, oh, it almost feels like, well, if he could do it, I could do it. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And that's okay. Like, if you did this thing with flow, I also feel like that adds on to maybe a cosign from the universe, if you will, that you should be doing this anyway.
That's a
Like,
good point.
I'll use myself as an example. Some artists will ask me, well, oh my gosh, like, how do you get in front of the camera, and how do you get on the mic, and how do you speak to audiences, how do you teach in the classroom?
Mhm.
I tell them, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it was
Like,
never,
it just comes.
ever since I was a child, I knew I wanted to be an artist. Okay. In some creative way. My first idea was a painter. Like, I want to paint. We painted in class, and I'll always remember it, finger painting. And I was like, oh my God, like, is this like a thing? Like, we do this forever. But um, like you, as far as the, I'll say more recent, like 2020 during the pandemic, me me coming to a higher realization that my greater gift is my voice,
Yeah, yeah.
is talking, is encouraging, is teaching. And so, again, just to connect with the, if you had any trials or like anything like that, this has always been easy for me. Like, I've always loved to talk in front of an audience. I was in front of a camera at like 5 years old, like, and it was the news station and everything. They were just had a quick little interview with me.
Mhm.
I've loved
Oh,
that. So,
wow.
it's okay for it to be easy for you. If
Yeah.
you know that's like it's natural and supernatural, then embrace that. I
Yeah.
love
It was
that.
just getting into it that was, the most difficult part, as we just talked
Mm,
about, getting over
mm-hmm.
the mental dialogue and all of those
Right.
things. So when I got
Understood.
into it, it was like avalanche, right? So once it started to kind of snowball, it just
Nice.
really
Yeah.
started to go down here. So
So good.
I don't, I paint and I express and I trust whatever flows through me, which
Mm,
came from development, right? So I'm a little older. Well, I'm 33, and over time, wisdom is gained, understanding
mm-hmm.
is gained, and you begin to develop certain parts of yourself. So one of the parts of myself that I
Yeah.
developed was a deeper trust in myself, and that
Mm,
entails allowing whatever flows through me to flow through me
so
to the
good.
extent that I don't have to question it because I trust it in the beginning. And so, from other things that
Sign
I've
me up.
done, because the first thing I used to do, or what first got me into like the creative space, was writing. So I'm a writer,
Mm, mm.
and
We have so many more questions, but please continue. I know that's on my list here.
so yeah, like
Gosh.
from that, I started to see how people took to the things that I had to say or at least express.
Mm,
And that
mm.
helped me gain the confidence to be able to express because I'm like, well, when I express myself in this way, let's say writing, then people's response is well received. When I express
Mm.
myself in this type of way, it's well received. So why, almost like I'm kind of deducing, like, okay, if A plus B equals C, then so I'm like, well, if this expression was well received and this one was well received, what can I do with this one over here? And why am I judging it so much when so many things
Mm.
in my life have shown me that you should do this or you should pursue this? So in essence, I'm in me judging the situation and not doing it, I'm kind of going against the flow that's trying to really flow through me. So I'm in my
Right.
own way at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I love that. I love how you shared that too about allowing it to flow through you and trusting in what's already in you.
Yeah.
A lot of my supporters and the artists and our respect the artist community, like they know I prioritize my spirituality. And so I'm not
Yes.
going to like dive into that because my platform is not built for that, right? It's built for it in the energy and in the spirit, but not for like a talking point. But I want to say that's real. It's so real to understand what's happening within you, the power that's in you, and then legit trusting that power to flow out the way it needs to flow. Stop asking 1,000 questions about something that can be very simple, like we'll
Yeah.
go back to just going to the store and buying canvases, right? It's not this whole thing like, oh, I have to trust what's inside of what, like the power within me. I have to trust that. And now I just close my eyes and do nothing. Like, no, don't
Yeah.
get it twisted, right? So it can come out in very subtle ways, but whatever that way is, just go ahead and give yourself permission to just get it out there. Release,
Yeah.
let it channel through you, get the download, just get it going and get it out. And then how many times especially as artists, how many times have we created something and legit looked at it and said, how did I do that? I don't know if you've
Oh yeah.
ever,
Yeah.
that is the permission. You didn't do it. That's
Yeah.
why you didn't fully do it. There was a greater, deeper, more loving energy that just powered through you. And you're like, wow. Okay. Like, okay, it's
That
out.
and, and that's the energy that I look to tap into just in day to day in my natural life is because I feel like that what you express is like the brink of like thinking and
What is
not
it,
thinking.
Jordan?
It's
What
like
is
right
it?
on the it's like
Tell
right on the brink of like thinking and not thinking, or kind of like in the flow or out of the, or not necessarily out of the flow.
us.
It's hard to put into words. I see what I can feel it, but it's like
So good.
whenever I paint stuff and I have that expression or like, wow, damn, how did I do that? Like I'm in a certain state.
No.
I'm in a certain state when
Yes.
that happens, and that state,
Yes.
however we can describe it, I don't know if it's the flow. That's how I try to live my life
Some
now.
people call it like the creative zone or in the zone and things like
Yeah,
that. But that flow, that's a common one too. The flow, like the natural flow, the real flow, not the natural. Like people use the word natural different too. Like your natural body, meaning like your physical body. But then some will say the more natural part of you, which is like your spiritual. Like that's the
Mhm.
truest nature, not the, like, and I'm going to agree with you. Sometimes you could just feel it. Like feeling it is knowing the differences, right? It's like, oh, okay. But sometimes to explain it, picking the right words, because we connect words with our history and our experiences. And so sometimes it's just kind of like, forget
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Just feel it. Just feel it in my energy. Okay.
You
Like,
said it perfectly because that's
yeah.
from writing to visual arts. Words just wasn't doing it anymore, or at least
Mm,
it wasn't doing it how I needed it. It
how you
wasn't doing
needed
what I
it.
needed it to
Yes.
do. So
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
like, well, maybe instead of talking so much, in addition to that, I guess I can say I could just show you what I see, or I can just
Mm,
show you what's inside of me, or I can show you. And this, you use an interesting word to describe my art. You said the excitement, and
mm-hmm.
internally, like I feel like I'm very colorful. Like if I could like peep on the inside of myself, it's like LED lights
Yes.
and like
Yes,
Like,
like if you were a store, or like I love these kind of metaphors. Like if you were a store and we walked into the store, like what would that store
yeah.
look like, feel like, like what is this experience? Like how would we experience you with our five senses if we
Mhm.
could look inside of you, your mind, your energy, your spirit? Like what would that look like? It shows up in your work. We are going to segue into that too. Um, but yes, yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of jumped in there. Were you still
Oh
continuing
no, that
about
was
being a colorful
yeah,
person?
just colors, man. I've always liked going back to when I was younger. Are you familiar with
Mm-hmm.
it's a Ghanaian symbol, Sankofa. It's a Sankofa bird where the bird is looking. It's a symbol where the bird is looking behind itself,
Oh,
and
I don't know.
so it's West African. I want to say a Dinka symbol, but what it essentially
Oh,
represents
okay.
is going
Cool.
back and getting something that was left behind. And that's the theme of my art career and journey thus far.
Mm.
Because at this age, or at
Ooh.
30, when I decided to do it or when I wanted to pursue it, this was something, like I said, that I always wanted to do, but it was just in the past, right? I had to go retrieve it.
You kind of oh,
So,
so
and
good.
I'm even thinking
So
about doing a
good.
series called Sankofa too, but yeah.
Well, I would appreciate it if you could just send me that word, like just DM me that word so I can explore that. That would be great. Are you doing that right now? Because you could do it right now if you want.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I would love to put a visual to that. And I want to connect. Oh, you're sending, oh, right now. Okay. This is, you know what? I'm not good. Okay, Sankofa. Okay. Give me one second. I want to pull up the visual. So I want to add on, and to those who are listening on the podcast, make sure that you hit the links in the description so you can check out all the links that take you to Jordan DeLoach's work, and you can see that. And make sure that you, again, if you're on the podcast, make sure that you go to the YouTube channel. That link is, of course, in the description, and you watch this so you can also see the work we're going to review momentarily. Okay, so let me look. I'm going to look at the Sankofa here.
Yeah, that's when I first learned about that, I'm like, man, that's it like
Oh,
really.
wait, it's like a Sankofa. I'm looking up Sankofa eagle.
So I think
Maybe
they
I'm.
have different variations of birds, but
Oh, okay, maybe so. All right, I'm going to do that real quick. And while I'm looking that up, I'm going to ask for you, because we are going to check out your Instagram, but I'm curious. Oh, dang it, I have so much to say, because I'm curious about things. Then you've spoken about things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to speak about that too. When you said about retrieving or going back, right? And
Mhm.
earlier I was talking about the person who has to give themselves permission to, we'll say, paint or create or draw or whatever, right? Although they've been a doctor for 25 years, I use it as an example. They may not necessarily be at a point where it's like, oh, I'm a doctor for this long, and now I want to begin being creative over here. They
Yeah,
may be reaching back, and that was interesting that you said that, because it may appear, you know what, that happened to me. Ooh, i just
wow.
caught that I just caught that happened to me, where when I had realized, or the realization came to me, that my greater strength was my voice. Okay. That then the memories came
Hmm,
up of
hmm.
how long. Remember earlier I mentioned, like, oh, I was in front of a
Yeah,
camera at the age of 5, and I always ran around the house with a little recorder. I kept tapes, telling my age. I kept little cassette tapes in the house. Even talking about it right now, I remember we would go to, whenever we went to Walmart, I would look for the packs of cassette tapes, because I would be recording. I'd be recording. I'd record everything we're doing around the house. So I feel like that is a reaching back. You're retrieving, and even just retrieving something that you may not have realized was a greater strength. And
yeah,
it's like, oh, dang, like that's
yeah.
so good.
Because it may have
Okay,
been
just
there.
go
Like I
ahead.
said, and just real quick to speak to the doctor who may have been a doctor for some time, that desire may have been there in the beginning. So you may have had that desire before you may have even had the desire to be a doctor, but
Oh,
because you may have forgotten about it. That's the bird right there.
that's so, yeah, right. Okay, this is awesome. That is so good. Like you know what? I go to church. Let me just say this real quick. I'm not going. This isn't. I know this isn't the whole. But I go to church. But when I'm hollering, I'm like, oh, that's so good. I'll be like, that's so good, Pastor. Like, Pastor, that's so good. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's all good. So this is an example. And
Hmm.
again, if you're on the podcast, make sure that you go to the YouTube video so you can check out these visuals. So awesome. And I just read one of them that it said. Uh, yeah, return and get it. Like the
Oh yeah,
return and get it. Oh,
yeah,
that is so good. Oh,
yeah. Retrieving
that
those
really
those
that really
lost
spoke
purchases.
to me, Jordan. That really spoke to me. That's nice. That's something that I would have to like sit with. Wow. Wow. Okay. So real quick, and I don't even know if that's gonna I'm saying real quick, but I don't even know if it's gonna be real quick. And it's all good if it isn't. But I'm curious to know, did you have examples of your family and friends, the people in your life that you deemed as creative? Granted, we're all creative and we express ourselves in a multitude of ways, but
Mhm.
I'm going to lean into visual arts or writing or music, somewhere along those lines. Did you have exposure to that in your upbringing?
No, no
Mm-hmm.
one, no one.
Okay.
I've only had visual arts. I have a younger cousin who he used to always draw, and he wasn't necessarily an artist at that point when he was younger, but he used to always like
Mm.
draw and stuff like that. And as he got older, he started to pursue a career as an artist, and so he paints, and he's really good too.
Ah,
Um,
ah,
but outside of
nice.
him, but I'm older than him, so I never saw that growing up like that. And I'm trying to think, I didn't have anybody,
Okay.
honestly. This was just something
Okay.
that I don't know. It was just like an innate thing. Like, man, I wish
Yeah.
I had. Maybe I would have got into it sooner though. But
Yeah. But I mean, even if, and something I enjoy doing is kind of flipping perspective on its head with some artists, because number one, and that's totally okay. If you didn't have those examples of people doing it in your family or in your circle of friends, it also, oh, I was saying about kind of flipping it on its head to say, if there's a family of artists, but then there's this one child who loves science, okay, like that kid is like, oh my gosh, like, my dad's a painter, my mom's a ceramic artist, and
yeah,
so he's like, well, how come no one can embrace me enjoying science, and I like looking at the stars, and I like learning about nature and all of that, right? So that's just understanding and giving yourself, again, permission to just enjoy where you're at, enjoy where you're at. Like, this is what you like to do. It's all good. But also the fact that you just shared, you may not have had those examples of artists, and at least in some of the ways we just talked about, in your upbringing. It almost feels like it's of greater importance for you to embrace what you do now. Just that's it. Just embrace what it is you're doing, how you're choosing to express yourself. It actually speaks volumes, because you didn't have that exposure either. A common story that I hear from artists, and my clients included, is that they were the artists, but they didn't have artists around them growing up. And so they're like, well, I didn't have, support in that way. And I didn't get exposed to the arts in the community or anything like that. I just knew that that's what I love to do. That's usually what I hear. But it's, again, really interesting, because for you didn't necessarily have those examples, but you still knew there was something you kind of liked about that. And so you, at this point in your life, you're like, okay, I'm open. I can do this because I can. Like, why not? Why not just go ahead? So
yeah.
yeah, I was curious about that. And thank you for sharing. So we're going to dive into a couple of things. Share with us, if you can, a few minutes about being a writer. And I'm pulling up your IG. We're going to look at both of them. Um, links below, links to everything of Jordan's. Make sure you support him in as many ways as you can. And even just to start getting on the email list, or, following and supporting, communicating, reaching out, and actually solidifying the connection, not just a surface level connection. All of those things are encouraged. So we are going to pull up both of your IG pages, because I'm looking at the one that says, of course, abstract writer. Again, y'all, links below for all of this, but abstract writer, abstract artist, writer, coach, and tech engineer. So tell us a little bit about the writer and the coach aspect. And if you want to talk about the tech engineer, I'm open too.
Oh, I got yes. So the tech part ties into the art part, but I'll get to that. Growing up, I always realized that communication was also a thing that I was really into. It wasn't until I got to college in like my freshman year where I started to like write papers, and we had to do peer reviews, and other people started reading my papers, and they would say like, wow, okay, yeah, like your paper is pretty good. And I didn't think that. I just was doing it, right? So I'm like, okay, right. It's okay. But then, so then social media came around, and then I began to be more verbally expressive on social media. And then people would gravitate towards it. So I'm like, well, maybe I got something here. So that led to me writing my first book, which is essentially a guide to teaching people how to become a vegetarian. So I wrote this like 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. And that came on the brink of my lifestyle. Well, I've been a vegetarian for like 10 years, but I wrote it like 7 years ago. But that came on the brink of me having an experience with both my parents. It was pretty challenging, and as a result of what they went through, I started to become more self-aware and think like, well, maybe I need to switch something up. Maybe I need to try some new things. Maybe I need to learn something more than what I already know.
Oh, okay.
So that really led to the book. And then I liked it so much, and people, would ask me different things that I just kept going. So then I wrote a couple ebooks, and then I did the journal. And I'm pretty sure we'll get to the journal as well, but the 30 Days of Transformation, that journal is the process I went through prior to me actually stepping into becoming an artist. And so both books, both physical copy books with the vegetarian book and then the journal, are just things that I went through in my life that I wanted to give back to people in like a actual step-by-step. Okay, this is what I did. This is how I would apply it if, in your situation, whatever it is. And so that kind of leaned into the coaching aspect. So I used to be a personal trainer. I used to run long distance. I did a marathon.
Oh my gosh, I want to do a marathon. What?
That's a marathon is like one of the greatest experiences that or running a marathon is one of the greatest experiences that I probably had. It's so fulfilling when you get to the end. It's challenging for sure, but when you get to the end of it, you're different. You're a different person. It's something that happens. It's almost like it's a ceremony in a sense. As you go through it, but you can't make it to the end of the ceremony until you've proved stamina, right? Or until you've proved your ability to go for long periods of time, and then you get a journey. It's like an internal gift that you get. I can't put it into words, but just stuff like that. I will always have the desire to kind of stretch myself, and then when I come back, I will have stuff to give people. Like, oh, okay, look, I got to this point because I did it this way, or I did this way, and then now I lay down a blueprint. So if you would like to follow it, you have something that you can tangibly hold in your hand that can give you steps.
That was good. That was really good. I just wrote that down. I took my own notes there because Oprah gave me that assignment, not personally. Let me just say that right now. She had said on an interview that I'm just saying, you never know who I know out here in these streets. But anyway, it was a YouTube video. Someone was interviewing her, and she had recommended that everybody run a marathon at least once in their life. And so I actually pulled up some information about marathons in Virginia. And I was thinking, well, I don't know, so I've had these different, physical goals, right, throughout our life. Like we all may have had it to some degree, right? And so what hit me so strong about her recommendation was that my goals, my own body goals, were limited. I had a limited belief of what my personal body goal should be. And when I heard her say that, I was like, wow, I never thought, so like for me, I'm like, oh, I'm fine with my physical body. So because I'm looking at my physical body, I'm like, well, there's nothing else that I think I need to do besides what I currently do, maintenance kind of workout, right? So there was a limited idea of what it means to expand yourself. And so that's why it hit really strong. I was like, a marathon. Wow. Like that internally felt like, wow,
Yeah, yeah.
so
It's extreme.
that's really good. I'm glad that you said that. So we're going to dive into let's talk about the journal, and then let's talk about your art. Your journal, the journal that you're the author of. Am I using the
Yeah.
verbiage right? The writer of it, the author of it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Keep me straight. Keep me straight now. I don't want to, because I'm not
Uh,
sure what I love the journal. And that's just from looking at the post. Wait, okay, that post is actually on your
yeah, so
my
that's on my
philosophy
philosophy.
page. Okay, there it is. Yes. So tell us about the
Yes,
journal.
right now. Oh, I was trying to go to it myself, but now it's a reel that came up about artists.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway,
Girl, look, they're gonna try to get you, Jordan. They're gonna try to get you in them reels, boy. Once you open up your
man.
phone, go ahead, or Instagram, but go
um,
ahead.
so the journal, the official title is 30 Days of Transformation, a journey back to yourself, right? And it's funny too, when I wrote that title, I didn't have the thought of the Sankofa bird, or even at that point when I was writing the journal, I didn't really have the desire to paint at that point. Um,
Mm,
that came, I want to say maybe like 6 months later. But the journal is essentially me going through what I felt to be one of the most, or the most transformative phase of my life. And not to get too deep into it, but what and it so okay. Uh, I was in a
How
relationship.
can you not get too deep
Yeah,
into
it's
a
like how can you not, right?
transformation? Yeah, but go
So
ahead.
I was in a relationship, and we were pretty. It was for a long period of time. I met her pretty early on when I first got to college. I was like 17, and then we ended up breaking
Mm,
up at some point in time. And so, going through the struggles of that.
mm,
Then I moved to Atlanta by myself, where I don't really have much family or any family, with the exception of my cousin moving here a year ago. But when I first came, I
okay.
didn't have any family, and so I was just having this experience where I was really alone, and I felt alone, and
Mm,
that
mm.
feeling reminded me of how I felt when I was younger because I felt alone. And so I
Ah,
started to have these feelings of, or memories of what I was in the past as a child and what path was I on before I got into the world.
mm.
And so
Wow.
as I'm going through all these experiences, right, um, I'm by myself, right? I'm just in a room. I didn't even have much at that point when I first came here. Everything was new. I didn't have a job. I had to get a new job. I didn't have a car. I had to get a new car. I
Ah,
literally was stripped of everything. And
mm.
so in that moment, though, what I realized that I did have was my creativity, ability to write, and a laptop. And
Nice.
so,
Nice.
over time, I just gradually began to set certain goals and things that I wanted to reach and actually do them. And so I started to see success, and I just wrote down a formula that I took internally. Uh,
Mm.
but I put it in a journal form because then it wasn't me. So a book would have just said, "Hey, this is what I did." A journal said, "Hey, this is what I did." But then also too, here you can write your thoughts about what I'm saying.
Yes,
It's more interactive. So,
absolutely.
then towards the end of the journal, or actually throughout the journal and at the end of the journal, I put stories of. Uh, is a parable in there. I put a story,
Hmm.
triumph, that I personally had.
Okay.
And I put like small inspirational, motivational stories that
Oh,
people can
that's
read.
good.
And
Yeah.
at the end, like I said, I got more in depth about what I experienced. But ultimately, that journal is a piece of work to just help people shift themselves from the inside out,
Mm,
essentially.
that's good. That's good. I love that. And it's necessary. I feel like, that's okay. Okay. So I'm an author too, right? But I'm understanding what you're saying in the sense, or because I'm an author too. Like, first of all, the expression, right? I had a book, I delivered a book out of myself in a matter of days, and I didn't even know, like, okay, I have a book now, what do I do with it, right?
Yeah.
It's just like that desire to express, knowing that art and knowing that my voice was not the way that I had to express myself. I had to express myself by typing it out, writing it out. And um, so I just wanted to add that on for context. But when it comes to a journal, wow, I journal. I journal almost every day.
Same.
Yeah. And so like there's so much I don't even know again how to put it into the right words or words, period, because something happens when you are connecting. It's almost like here we go with the flow again, allowing it to flow out. So we as since Respect the Artists, my platform, and then of course say on both RTA and my personal page on Instagram, we get it about the idea of being a creative with your hands as a visual artist, or creative with when you're molding something, or being a ceramic artist. But it's the same kind of energy I feel when you're writing something. There's something, it's that
Yeah.
constant flow, the constant happening, the constant the constant giving yourself permission to let it flow through your hands, in that. I mean, we can make a whole topic about it, but yes,
It's
it's
like
it's
words
this
as a medium.
consistent thing. Hmm.
Yeah, it's because it's like, like you said, whether a ceramic artist,
Hmm.
acrylic painter,
Graphic designer, like
yeah, it's just
pick
that,
one.
letters and words are the medium at that point, or at least the
Mm.
the method that you use to express. And
Yes,
a
yes.
lot of times, and this is just, my opinion now, I think people who are creative in a lot more areas than they think they are. They just don't
We ain't even
necessarily
going.
pursue.
Don't do it. Don't do it,
Right?
Mr. DeLoach. Don't
Because
do it.
the underlining essence of it is expression, and you can express yourself
Yes,
in a multitude of ways. But
yes,
you know,
absolutely.
so
But
it's
this is
interesting.
why, like this is, them as well as myself. And if it isn't you, because it might be you too, they're artists who, or I'll just say those who are giving themselves permission to express, they
Yeah.
do it in a lot of different ways. So it could be like, I'll just use Chris Brown. I used to actually, like Chris Brown, like overall, like, oh yeah, Chris Brown. I don't
Yeah,
know what
yeah.
he's doing. I haven't paid attention in years, but I've always used him as an example of someone that I saw him as a musician. That's all I knew him as, like in my younger days. And then I learned that he was also very creative with like spray paint and
Yeah.
graffiti style. And it blew me away. I was like, oh my gosh. But it was this big reminder when I saw him do all that. And I was like, well, I'm the same way. Like I was singing. Of course now, my platform in this way, expression, like it's so much more natural for me to express myself with my voice, and that's why it can carry further or deeper, or it hits people in their spirit. Like I can't promise you that my paintings, my watercolor paintings with roses, can actually hit someone in their spirit. And maybe it can, but I will say for now, I look forward to doing this. I love my watercolor ink, and I love roses. That's like my go-to. But this is like my thing. But I'm right there with you. Like it's this willingness to just express yourself in as many ways as possible, and then call it a day. Like, don't ask me what I'm trying to do with it. Don't ask me when am I going to
Right,
post it
right.
up. I don't get, I'm just, this is what I have to do. So yeah, much respect. I really love the journal, connecting back to that, the idea of the journal. And then there again, y'all, to my listeners, to our viewers, there's so much power in journaling. I would say give journaling a chance. Like, give it like 2 weeks, get Jordan's book, get his journal, give that some time, sit with it. Actually, for your journal, it's
And
30
it'll be on
days.
the website too.
Yeah, awesome. Sit with that, get that journal, sit with it. And really, there's something else that happens there when you're journaling. I'm not going to get, because, we're going to keep it moving. But yes, I highly recommend that. It's life for me. Journaling is life changing. I mean, I've released so much through journaling.
I have
It's
so
right
many
there
journals.
with meditation and prayer. Like, that's like the morning, hot water for me. That's hot water in the morning for me. It's rejuvenating. So I love that. And again, y'all, links are in the description. Same for my podcasters. Links are in the description. Make sure you check that out. So now let's get to the visuals, Jordan. Let's get to the visuals. I'm looking at your art page on Instagram, and I'm just shaking my head because I just like this could be another hour and maybe even 2 hours, but we're gonna go ahead and dive into it. So I'm gonna pull one of your pieces up, and if you will expand and share a little bit more about how it came to be, or what your thought process was, or answer the deeper questions that we may have besides the process or how you did it or the supplies you use. Like let's go deep with it, with those pieces. So this is one that really stood out to me. It just was like, wait, what's happening here? I don't know, but I'm going to demand an explanation when we do our
Oh
interview.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
That's one of my favorite ones.
Podcasters, go to YouTube and look at these visuals. All right.
So I with that one, and that kind of ties into
Mhm.
the play on shapes and like the geometric aspect of the style that I have.
Is this the tech
And
engineer part too?
right, and a little
Ah,
analytical, right? So
oh,
with that, and so that painting is a blend of a lot of different things. The different colors,
mm,
even the very middle of the painting itself being not how you would think based on how the outside is, and as you get gradually closer to the center, it kind
mm,
of shifts. And that's kind of my thing. I always like to kind of throw something
mm.
that's kind of like harmonious together, but with a kind of like a pinch of, well, that's kind of off, or that's kind of
Oh, okay.
like that.
Okay.
Like it's perfect, but in the sense of what you would think is perfect, being complete harmony, I try to kind of throw something in there that kind of throws it off of being in complete
Why?
pattern. That's
Why?
always,
Let's dive deeper. Let's dive deeper into
I
the
don't know,
mind of
that's a good
Jordan.
question too. Man, because it makes you think, right? I feel like when something is predictable, it you to a degree, our minds kind of go on autopilot. So when something is predictable, routine, monotonous, whatever you want to call it, we kind of go into a space where we don't necessarily think so much, or we're not as conscious because we like, okay, well,
As conscious. I think yeah, that's better.
so
Yeah,
when you
very
throw
true.
something in there, when you throw a kind of a wrench in the mix, it kind of brings somebody's mind back to a more conscious state. So, and I didn't think about what I'm saying
Mm.
now while I was doing it. I kind of was just doing
I
it.
bet you didn't. Yeah, I know. See, that's why I love to have artists tell me, like, talk to me. I want to know. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
good.
that's what that was. That's what that is, and it's almost like this kind of like transition into like this world. So it's like, okay, we're starting on the outside and we're coming gradually in, and
Mm.
so that's what that pretty much was. But yeah, I just like to throw that monkey wrench in there sometimes to kind of spice it up. So if I don't know, if I'm I don't know, painting canvases and I have 10 of them and I'm painting all of them black, I may paint one orange just because I don't want all of them, like something
Is
has to
that
be.
is so tell us why something has to be off. And what exactly, yeah, we're going to go a little bit deeper because this is interesting because it tells, for me, for the amount of artists that I've examined their pages and I've evaluated their behaviors and my clients too, there's something about you that you want us to know.
Mhm.
And that's just how I feel about it. If we're expressing something, there's a message behind what we're visually expressing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so why do you have the desire to
So
do
it's
something that's a little off? And what is considered off? It's like,
right,
what?
right. What's off, right? So, what's right or wrong, but it
Right.
always, I guess the underlining message is to kind of show it's it's kind of what's the word
This
I'm looking
is why you painted it,
kind of
because you didn't want
paradoxical.
to talk.
Yeah, yeah,
Was
right,
that
right. It's kind of paradoxical, right? It's like
okay?
it's false and true at the same time, but it's like the expression of imperfection. Although I feel like what flows through me is, in essence, perfectly what's supposed to come through me.
Yes.
But
Yes. Yes.
it's the expression of imperfection to say that you know, there can be things that are harmonious, and then there can be things that are thrown on our path in life. So you can be
Mm,
going in one direction, and then as you continue to flow on, then something kind of presents itself. And depending on how we judge that situation, we may even deem ourselves or our lives as imperfect or less perfect
I
or
see.
whatever. You know,
That makes sense.
it's not just, roses and
Yes,
slippers,
correct.
right?
That's
And
right.
so
That's right.
I guess that the middle aspect of it is an expression of that, where it's still, because it's still off, but it's still on. It still flows, right? It's
Woo!
like it's two things at one time, and I guess that's the part that I'm really looking to capture, like a dualistic type of thing. So, like I said, a combination of a
Wow.
lot of different things, of like analytical, because then I had to use masking tape.
Yes.
I drew it out, I
Yes.
sketched it,
Yeah.
and then so it's a lot of different things.
Oh, that's so good. Wait, I'll tell you. And again, thank you for sharing that. I love that you shared that because what that opened in my thinking or whatever, my experience on this end was to even understand and embrace, like, we wouldn't know what up is if we didn't know what down was. We wouldn't know, what in was if we didn't know what out was. We have to not have whatever, all the verbiage, right? But
Right,
it
right,
translated to me like to just be aware of both sides of the coin, because that's it's like the yin and the yang, like it's a
yeah.
balance with that. Even if it may look imbalanced here, that's
Mhm.
how our life experience can be like. It's
Yeah,
like everything is all, it seems like you're in a moment where everything is smooth, but then when you have something that takes you out of that smoothness, you don't have to necessarily stay in that. Like the dominant visual when we look at this painting here isn't um or excuse me, when we're looking at the painting, the part that's off, it's still part of the painting.
it's still
So
exactly.
so even when you're taken out of this flow thing, you're
You're
supposed to
still
learn
in it,
something from that. Yeah,
right?
you're
You can still
still
be,
in it. This is part of, it's just part of our experience. How did we get all of that from this painting? I love
right,
it. I
right,
love it.
yeah.
I
I
love it. Now,
I
I'm
love
gonna,
it.
before I move on, because we're gonna look at one more piece. And again, podcasters, click the link in the description, go to the video and put your eyes on Jordan's work here. Um, but before I move on to the next one, and then we're going to move on to the word game after that, is there a reason why you intentionally, like, or intentionally, but whether you did or not, why did you choose the color schemes that are on each side? Because each side gives a different kind of feeling.
Yeah,
Like, say those colors by itself, like that
yeah,
gives a different kind of feeling as opposed to the other side.
yeah.
Any reason why?
So the most outer layer, so that darker
Mm-hmm.
color on the left, and then the lighter color on the right, it's almost like it's another expression of that dualistic.
Okay.
And
Ah, I see.
too, when you think about it
Mm,
and you really look at it, when I was creating it, it's a line down, it's a vertical line down the center of it, and it's like it's splitting two things into
right.
into two separate things. And then in the middle, it's more so coming together, because you don't see that line in the middle. It's only like the first
Correct.
layers where it's a
Correct.
right. So we
Yeah,
have,
I
so it's
see that.
almost essentially kind of saying like, superficially, or as we are in the world, we do have duality, up, down, black and
Mm-hmm.
white,
Mm-hmm.
all those
Mm-hmm.
different things, right? But then
Yes.
as we go closer to our center, it just is.
Oh, it's all one. Oh my goodness, y'all. I don't
Yeah.
know if I could. I'm trying. Let me sip some water. I need a recharge. This is a lot. I wasn't ready, Jordan. I wasn't ready. I mean, I was as ready as I thought I could be. But y'all, you have to go to his IG, check out his page. And again, as artists, the visuals will talk to us in a much different way. And I want to pull up one more, and that is this one here. Do these, and I'm sorry, did the previous one have a title? And does this one have a title by any chance?
Um, the first one is called Doors to Other Worlds,
Oh, okay.
or no, excuse me, Doors Lead to. New doors lead to new worlds. That's what it's called.
That's good. That's
That's
good. This one's
that's one
beautiful
of my
too.
favorite ones. Thank you. That's the last one that I finished. I actually gave that to my cousin because he's about to move back to Mississippi. But
Oh,
I love this one. I mean, I love all of the ones, but
so
this is one of my favorite
what was
ones.
the inspiration? Like how did this and not inspiration as far as a subject that inspired you when you looked at it or saw it, but
Mhm.
what does this what kind of emotions come from this? What kind of story comes from this? How could it just come together?
Man, you know, it's
I
really
do
like
this for a living. This is what I do, Jordan.
I
Ask the
see.
right questions.
Yeah, I see. I like it. I
Okay.
like it. Okay. I think this is where I wanted to really embrace the freedom that comes with art, right? Because
Mm-mm.
initially in creating that, obviously the canvas is blank, and I created the pattern essentially by scribbling. Whatever I felt, I
Yes.
came and I scribbled, and then I began to
Right.
fill in the different aspects of the scribble uh,
Yes.
with
Yeah, with
different
the
colors.
colors and different things like
Yeah,
that. So give us, because okay, I want to put some respect on abstract art. Like I am so there when it comes to abstract art because whatever we're determining as abstract, it seems to be one of the most challenging uh, types of art
I think so.
for people who are not in that headspace of art. Okay, they don't conceptualize that, they don't understand, like saying you scribbled something down does not translate to someone who's out of the visual arts world, right, where they're not open. I'll just say, let me say it like that, they're not open to receive that there's still, it is still considered art. So I want to help put some respect on abstract art, right? And I want to do that by asking you, what kind of state do you go in before you create this? What does that look like on your side? Do you go in a studio? Do you demand silence? Do you listen to something? So it's not just this thing like someone imagines somebody who's cooking breakfast and then they just put the plates in the sink and then they turn around and start scribbling. Like, I don't
Right,
know.
right,
Maybe that's someone else's
right.
process. Usually not mine, never mine. Actually, like I have a different state that I would get in depending on the medium.
Yeah.
If I was doing graffiti, because I used to do some graffiti style stuff, I listen to certain music that will just get me in this zone. If I'm doing watercolor roses, I
Mhm.
demand silence or classical music. So what kind of state do you get in? If you want to call it a certain state, your setup, how you feel internally, what's on your mind, do you listen to something? So all of this, I say all of this because there, for a lot of abstract artists, or just artists period, they get into a state and then they create what channels through them because they're
Yeah,
now in that flow, they're in that zone. So as you can see, I got
yeah.
real passionate there. So it's like, put some respect on the abstract artists too. Okay. Like they don't need, you
Yeah.
don't need to look at it and know exactly what it is. Let it go,
Yeah, and,
But yeah.
that's one of the difficulties of abstract painting. But well, before I get to that, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So with this, I have this really nice like 5 foot LED lamp, and
Okay.
it does different types of patterns that you can set. It's like you can
Mm.
set it on a remote control.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
so I have that going, right. I got my music playing. I like lo-fi. I like well, this is lo-fi
Yes.
that I paint. I love lo-fi. That's
Yes.
my favorite. Afro beats and so
Yes. There you
things with
go.
like flow, right? And so
Yeah.
the rhythm. And so I have that going on, and then I have and I think at the time I painted this, I was actually at my cousin's house. Uh,
Mm.
but typically this is how my setup is. But
Okay.
my music going, and I'm just in it. And so the difficulty about abstract painting is getting into the concept because you don't know the concept when you start. So it's almost like at first you're really trying to find yourself on the canvas, and then when something
Mm.
does show itself, like, oh, okay, I see where I see where this is going.
I see what's going on.
I see what's going on here. Then you found it, right? But
I love that.
each painting is like you have to find it, and that's the challenge in it because you can be painting and the approach is abstract and the style is abstract, but There's been some times where I'm like, I can't find it, and I just stop.
Yeah, yeah.
But when I find it, it goes into that space you were talking about, where it's like, how did I create this?
Yes,
Where did this
yes.
come from? But yeah,
Yeah. I love that. That's so good. You did also add on to putting respect on the abstract artist's name. Like put some respect on it. That's good. And yeah, you do sometimes like even okay, so artists, because we're gonna do our word game coming up, and of course
mhm,
you're gonna give some recognition to some folks too. But my primary artist coaching client um, is on Instagram trying to sell their art. That's like the primary. They want to know what exactly am I doing wrong? What do I need to fix? What I need to try? And we have those kind of conversations, right? So when it comes to presentation, there's certain things that it works in their favor to be consistent with.
mhm.
Okay. But when it comes to their creative process, I mean, it all goes back, of course, to what truly feels fitting for us. Okay. But artists will sometimes put pressure on themselves to kind of schedule when they're supposed to be creative, right? And I know life is life. You got family, you have kids, jobs, and so trying to find the time to do that, they may need to start off allotting time to do it, right? So when they're allotting that time to do it, they may have the creative block moment, or they may be like, well, I'm not really
Yeah,
feeling it today. Okay, well
yeah,
then don't try to create. Don't even try. Don't force it. Let me say it like that. Don't try to force it through you, because the more you try to force it through you, the less it's going to work in your favor.
yeah,
Just take a step back and do it tomorrow, or do it like at another time. And because sometimes we have these, or not sometimes, but as long as we're blessed to be living, we'll have life dynamics that are also tie into our creativity flowing through us. So,
mhm,
if you had a rough day at work, or you got in an argument with, whomever, yes, it may not exactly flow out at that moment. So all in all, going back to what you were saying when you briefly mentioned that about, it may not come through. Okay, it's cool. Put it down.
mhm.
But I was talking about Instagram and how sometimes their artists will put pressure on themselves to say, well, I have to do this and I have to do that every day, every 2 days, every 3 days, and all of that. You have to understand, and especially for me as an art coach, I play on Instagram. Like you have to get in that space where the only thing I put out is what felt good.
Yeah,
You have to use Instagram like the canvas, or like getting behind the wheel and creating ceramics, when it feels good, when it's powering through you. And by all means, if it's powering through you 3 times a day, do it.
yeah,
Do it, because you want to catch it while it's powering through. And when you produce it, it hits, everything that happens after that hits different. It impacts you differently. So if we'll use the example, if someone is trying to create and they're forcing themselves to create, right? Let's
mhm,
just say they force themselves to create. Every time, even while they're creating, and then the time after that, when they're complete, they're done with the work, they will reflect and look at that piece and think about the stress.
mhm.
They will think about what the process, consciously or subconsciously. They'll remember that it was not fun. They'll remember that, well, I was trying to think of what blue to use, but man, earlier in that day, I got in an argument and it
Yeah,
just threw me off. You know what So that's why, like, you got to go back to what really feels good. If Jordan turns on his Afro beats and you produce whatever you produce, it will take you back to that
mhm.
moment when you were like, I was in the flow, I was energized, I was loving the process. That's where you want to be. That's where you want to be. I love that. Give
Yeah, yeah. That's good stuff right there.
respect.
That's good stuff.
Respect.
And that's
That's
the
why I
feeling
do
I
what
look
I
for.
do. See, that's why we're talking. That's why you do what
Right,
you
right. That's why I'm here. Right, like that's
do. Yes.
because I, I feel like okay, real quick. Another thing that I used to experience as a child was like these very, and more so as I got older, but these very
Mm-hmm.
colorful is the best word I can use. These very, very colorful internal experiences. So like
Mm.
I remember vividly one
Ooh.
time I was on a road trip. It was a beautiful day, the sun was shining. And so many things was just in alignment, and it felt so
Mm.
amazing. And I just was very appreciative of just living at that point that I cried.
Ah.
And
Mm. Love that.
it's like a certain level of joy that I feel. I mean, day to day in general, and I feel like that's reflected even on my face and my spirit. But it's a certain level of joy that comes through when I paint. The same type of joy that I felt and that type of experience that I
So
expressed.
good.
And when it feels like that, I'm like,
Hmm.
this is the one. And that's what I look for.
Yes.
I look for the
Yes.
feeling as opposed to the end result of the actual painting. Because if I feel how I feel, then I can communicate that feeling to other people.
You can, and let me say this too. This is fun. This is what I've been coaching. Okay. Because when you are creating from that kind of energy, from that essence, all the interaction, all the response, whatever amount of response, I'm not talking about the amount, it's just the response that you receive are people who feel
Yeah.
the essence. They feel that essence. It's so this is why, and I'll just be more use a very blunt example. This is why an artist can start trending or go viral and all of this, and it doesn't really it won't ever feel like enough.
Hmm.
It won't feel like enough because they may not have tapped into, hold on a second, I got a little call popping up here. They have not, maybe in that moment, we'll say, did they actually tap into what felt like the highest energy that they could? Or because I've been there. Look, I don't speak on stuff that
Yeah.
I haven't experienced, or I have no clue what that's about. I've been there before where I got more in numbers, right? Went viral. The whole internet's gone nuts, and not even just social media. Like articles are being written about my art and all this kind of stuff. I'm just like, whoa, like what is going on? But I still had a desire for more externally. The truth was I had a deeper desire for more internally. To actually pop the cork open for what was already in me.
Yeah.
So when I started, say, Dream Aloud Art, when I started that page, that was my art page, And so this is an example I share with artists, is that when I started that page with that love, with the purest, highest desire to show love to other artists. So even though I had my own way of doing that, which was recording and doing little videos, giving shout outs to artists, that was my art, right? Anything that happened from starting with 0 followers, 2 followers, 4 followers, it hit different. This is what I tell. It was like, because they are seeing the
Yeah.
highest energy essence in me, and it meant I had so much more gratitude. So
Yeah.
I love how you said that, because that's the point, is it's real. That is the realest and the highest energy. You can't see it with your eyes. You ain't supposed to see it with your eyes. Point blank. Just deal with it. Okay. That's not the experience of it. Now, I mean, we all experience a lot of different things with our eyes too, our spiritual eye and all of this, right? But we'll just say with the physical eye, okay, you can't see that, but it's that is so real.
Yeah.
And people receive, the right people, the ones who you want to connect with. It hits them completely different. Like I'll just use, and we're not gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna talk about this particular piece, but I'm gonna make sure that it's used for the cover of this YouTube video because
Oh,
I really
cool.
like
Okay.
it. Where is it? Okay, yeah, this one, but I'm gonna look around and see if there's a different one that I want. But I really like this one.
That's uh, and I'm looking at that one right now.
Oh, really?
If I have to rank my pieces, that's at the top because of so many. Oh man, I
We're
even
not
poked a
gonna do it.
hole.
We're not gonna do it.
Yeah, I
Don't
even
get
poked a hole in that canvas too by mistake.
Did you?
Before I created it, I poked a hole in. You can't tell where it is now, but
Of
yeah,
course not. Yeah, of course not. But yeah, that, and so I was just using this as an example to say, why does that speak to me? Okay.
hmm
I don't know. I have no idea why it does, but it does. But why does it speak to me? So if someone produces some kind of artwork where maybe they're in a depressed state, a dark state, and all of that, it it will resonate with whom it resonates with, because that's the energy that you were carrying at that time. It's a real energy. It's not going to hit me. Like, I'm not going to feel like moved by it. And I'm just using like a blatant example. I may not be moved by it because I'm not receiving. I don't. It doesn't translate to me. But and I'll throw some of my listeners off too. That person could be depressed, right? That artist could be very depressed, create an artwork that might be received as beautiful visually, but it may not actually translate to a sale, a connection, because there's some kind of resistance.
Mm-hmm.
There's a resistance energy that's been transmuted into that artwork, and so it's like, well, there's resistance, there's depression, there's negativity. How we can like the heck out of it, but is it going to make us want to go any deeper? I don't know. So those are just different perspectives. Listen,
That's good.
come
That's
on
good.
now. That was a mini coaching session. Somebody
Yeah.
listening needed to hear that. This
Yeah,
is
I needed to hear that.
Yeah,
I
that's
really appreciate that.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So, listeners, viewers, as you know, we could legit be on here forever. Like, we really could. This is what I do. Jordan, you have so much amazing content. You have done so many wonderful things. And we are going to, well, I'm going to ask for you to give any shout outs actually after the word game. We're going to dive into the word game first.
Let's
So
do it.
I've taken notes to our listeners. I've taken note of a few words that Mr. DeLoach has mentioned throughout his interview. I'm going to say the word and give him 2 to 3 seconds to respond, to tell me what the first thing is that comes to his mind. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh,
Let's
I
do
need a bell. I need a bell. Ding! All right, before we get started. Okay, Jordan, the first word is dancing. Dancing.
Rhythm. Like
Rhythm. Okay.
in the flow of the music.
Okay. I like it.
However it comes to dancing, if I could sum it up, it would be a physical interpretation of a sound that you're hearing.
Mm, mm,
So this is
mm, Ooh, that's good. What? Look at you. I'm going to give you like bonus points on that, because I'm so used to people just saying one word, but like you went like 8 levels deep with it. So you have 10 bonus points. You can do what you want with the bonus points, okay? But you can't pay your utilities with the bonus points, but they are yours. The next word is delay. Delay.
delay, patience.
Patience. Okay. All right. Hey, I'm with it. The next word is desire. Desire.
Internal.
Mm, 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 mm.
Yeah, that's the word. I
Okay.
internal.
I'm with it. I like it. Good. I'm with it. Okay. Next word is blueprint.
Hmm.
Blueprint. You said it. You said the word blueprint.
The
I was like, oh,
foundation.
I'm putting that one down.
Yeah, that's a good one too. The
Yes.
foundation, the strategy,
Mm, mm,
seeing where you're going before you get there.
mm. Stop. That was good. Hold on. That hit me really strong, because when you say foundation, I usually say that to a prospective client. Because they want to know what I do, and I tell them that I lay the foundation, right? Like it's so critical to get your foundation right, instead of doing a bunch of stuff sporadically, randomly, when you don't know, you don't have a stronger foundation, we'll say. So that really hit when you said like knowing where you're going before you get there, or what did you just say? Something along those
Yeah.
lines?
Yeah. So what did I say? So, yeah, knowing where you're going before you get there.
Before you get there. And the thing about the foundation is, it's almost like that is the getting there. When you have the
Yeah.
strong foundation in everything that you do, it's connected and linked to that foundation. So no matter how high you go, how far you go, it's still linked to that strong foundation. So it's almost like legit already being there before you even
Yeah.
go. It's
Yeah.
getting
Right.
right from what it's
Literally.
getting right from within.
Right, right. Because I mean,
Ah, oh
so now you got my
my gosh.
brain. Now my brain is
Okay.
moving, and because I feel like when
Dang
you do
it.
it in your imagination, I mean, you are there internally. It's just a matter of
Ooh,
getting it out here. But,
ooh.
so
Get right from within, y'all. You're already there. I mean, if you, and something I learned, because we got three more words we're going to do, but something I have learned as a strong reminder. You know how you hear a song when you're younger and it's like, oh, it's just a song. And then later,
hmm
years later, it hits completely different, right?
yeah,
Because you're receiving that message differently now. But actually doing what is truly in alignment with your heart's desire,
yeah.
truly in alignment, not what you think, because now you're pulling your head up in it, right? Not
Right,
what you
right,
think
right.
it is. No, no, no. Like internally, does that really feel like it's in alignment? So that was good. That was okay. Let's keep it moving here. The next word is freedom. Freedom.
Oh man,
Freedom.
find yet something that you find, something that is earned.
Mm, mm,
Um,
mm, mm.
I can go. I got a whole
I
philosophy.
know. Okay, we're gonna stop. I know
Start right there.
you're gonna look. Right, how many books have you read?
Like three or four, I want
Oh
to say
my gosh,
three.
write more books, or I'm just saying that just flowed out. I don't know why, but there it is. Like that's expression for me. I just
Yeah.
say what needs to be said for me. Okay, I love that. Next is trust.
Um, develop something that you
Mm, mm,
that is developed over time.
Yes, yes, I agree with that. I teach on artist confidence, and the etymology of the word confident is linked to simply say with faith
Hmm.
and with trust. And that's what I always reference when I'm teaching that, doing things with trust. And as an artist, you have to trust the internal, that internal being, energy, spirit. You have to trust it.
Yes.
And that's when you're trusting it, then you do it. Then it actually, when you're, we were talking about being open and willing, and when you went to actually, you decided to go get the canvas, there is a trust that was built up enough to start taking these certain steps that lead, pun intended, to the bigger picture. It leads to the bigger picture. Okay,
Exactly.
I love that. All right, and the last word is natural. Natural.
Man, natural, unrefined. Uh, something
Mm.
that is something that we don't have to do anything to it. It is whole, all of itself.
Yes, look, natural, organic,
Organic, yeah.
non-GMO,
Right, right.
gluten-free. Like, yes, that's so good. Okay, so Jordan, do you have anyone that you want to give some shout outs to, show some love to, give some recognition to? Let us know.
Oh man, yeah, definitely. My parents have been a pretty
Mm,
solid support throughout my artist
mm,
and my artist journey. And I think a part of
so
me,
good.
going through that, especially my dad, he talks about how he used to draw stuff when he was younger. I think a part of me
Really?
going through this process and them seeing that, specifically for him, it may even tap into something that is in him and something that he can go back and retrieve. They always tell me
Yes.
how proud they are, and
Mm.
that's invaluable for me.
Oh, so
Um,
good.
it really has allowed us to get closer, to be honest. You
That's a
know,
blessing. Gosh, that's
it
beautiful.
really this has been such a gift.
That you
One of
see,
my
that changes that real quick. That changes the trajectory, like generational wise, whether that's within your family, but how you impact others. Because now things have changed. The narrative has changed. Such a beautiful thing.
very much so.
Go ahead.
I'm humbled by it, but
Mm.
one of my first paintings they actually have on their bedroom wall,
Oh,
and so that was
oh,
amazing for me. And
oh,
my
that's
mother
good.
asked me to paint another one. So yeah, my parents for sure. My cousin that I mentioned earlier, his name is Marcus, and he's an artist out in Detroit. He does tattoos, and he also paints and stuff. And so
Mm.
before I started painting, I would talk to him like, man, I want to learn how to paint and this and that. And he's like, man, just start, just do it. You know, like you don't have to
Yes,
be so
yes.
analytical. And he sometimes
Ah, that's
reiterates
good.
that. You know, just
Shout out to him.
get out of your head. Yeah, man, that's
Yeah.
I got so much love for him.
Oh, that's good.
And I have an old friend that I haven't spoken to in some time, but in the
Mhm.
beginning, we would talk about and even like paint together sometimes. And
Ah,
they were pretty instrumental in the process of me growing even more comfortable with doing abstract or art in general, you know? And so
that's
I would
vital.
definitely say them. And, you know, people like you,
Yeah.
honestly, you know,
Ah,
individuals yourself who create a space for us to exist in and
mm,
connect to as well. Because this conversation that we've had has been like very impactful. Like you ever had a conversation and afterwards you're like on a high? I know this is how it's going to feel.
yeah.
Like after it ends, it's like, yo, we just had such like a cool conversation, and
Yes.
I've even said stuff that I never thought about. So it's like
Hmm.
afterwards, it's like a hangover, but in a good way. It's like a lingering
Yes.
a great lingering feeling. So, you know, I definitely would like to highlight you. And like I said,
Ah,
immediately when I
it's
learned
my
about
pleasure.
your platform, there was no hesitance when I first saw it. I'm
Yeah.
doing that. That's exactly how I went.
Yes.
Like, I'm doing that.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. And just to respond, it is my pleasure. I absolutely live for this. And I want to help put things into perspective. Like, when I gave your intro and I said that, it's an honor because and it's not a big secret, but I'll say it this way because it sounds more fun. But the secret is y'all are like y'all as far as artists in general, right? Y'all are inspiring me. You have there's the backstory real quick before we wrap this up, y'all. But the backstory of Dream Aloud Art has legit always been Dream Aloud Art, which is my personal page, my personal brand and my page, but also Respect the Artist. The backstory is that's what I've been doing. I have been highlighting artists that I absolutely love. We don't get on this conversation unless I actually feel like, wow, like, yes, like that's got to be a yes. So y'all are inspiring me. I teach artists. Artists will say, thanks for teaching me, right? And I still let them know that I learned from you. How
Yeah,
many times did that happen during this conversation,
yeah,
Jordan, where you
yeah.
you said something and I was like, oh, that hits different? Because here's the thing. I may have heard, let's just say, for example, you may have said something that someone else told me in some other way, right? But when the artist tells me, I receive it differently. Why is that? I don't know, but it happens. So it's not just you, is what I'm saying. See, I experienced the same high. Like afterwards, I'll be like, that was great. I had such a great conversation, right? It's never, but I'll solidify that. It's never just one person giving in that way. There's something else that's happening, especially if you feel it. I guarantee the other person feels that too. So yeah, it's definitely been my pleasure. Mr. Jordan DeLoach, y'all make sure you click all the links that you can in the description, show him some love, go to his website, get his journal, be restored, refreshed, and renewed and transformed in that journal. And journaling, period. Again, y'all, I had co-signed that for sure. Journaling is very healing. It's like it's a healing, it's prayer, and it's very meditative for myself too. So I recommend giving that at least 30 days as per Jordan's journal. So thanks so much, y'all. Me and Jordan are gonna say bye to y'all, and we're gonna stay on so we can have another wrap up chat afterwards. So peace to all of our viewers. Jordan, just holler at them real quick.
All right, peace, everybody. I hope that I hope that you know you really grabbed or
Mm-hmm.
obtained something of value from this conversation. I know I did, so
Yes.
I
Yes.
appreciate the time.
Thanks so much, y'all. Take care.
Creatives, it has been both a pleasure and an honor to have you sit in on our conversation today. So, will you be the next artist interviewed? Visit respecttheartist.com/artist interviews to learn more. And hopefully, I'll see you soon. RTA stands for Respect the Artist. Love y'all. Whew. 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 Did you catch all those diamonds? Did you catch the diamonds? Or I'm sorry, you still thinking that they're gems that you're supposed to be catching? They're diamonds, y'all. They're diamonds. Did you catch them? My favorite one, as you heard at or my favorite diamond of this interview is when Jordan gave such a strong reminder of how art is freedom. Art is freedom. Freedom. That's the freedom of expression. That's the freedom of being able to say what needs to be said, being able to share what needs to be shared, being able to tell the story the way only you can tell the story, the way that is signature. And it comes from you. What better freedom is there than to do as you see fit? To say and express yourself in the way you feel like doing so. So there's real power in that. And I just want you to be open to remind yourself of the power of that. There's power in that. Embrace it. Embrace it. This is who you are. There is no turning back. Some of y'all don't want to turn back. You don't need to, okay? There's no turning back. You signed up for this. This is your assignment. This is why you're here. To remember the freedom that's yours. That's your freedom. Own it. Walk in it. Like I said at the beginning, right? Walk in it. Live it. Breathe it. This is you. All right, y'all. So once again, links in the description. Shout out to Jordan DeLoach. And hey, sign me up all day, every day. I'm an artist, right? I'm an artist. Respect that. Respect that. All right. Peace, peace. I love y'all. And now for the second outro, the second outro to this episode. And stay tuned for the next one. All right. Peace, peace, y'all. Love y'all.